Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the SkinartJ Tattoo YouTube channel. My name is Alana, and I'm going to be sitting down with the owner and head tattoo artist at SkinartJ Tattoos, Jay. Thanks so much for having me, Jay.
Thanks for having me on and sitting with me.
My pleasure. I'm really excited about today's topic. I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about cover-ups. Is that your experience?
I believe that there's a lot of different advice that's out there, and it can pertain to certain degrees that vary depending artist to artist, just for where their skill set is and what their knowledge is and their understanding of what is possible.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to dispelling some myths and learning about cover-ups. Today's quote comes from George Bernard Shaw, and it says, "Success does not consist in never making mistakes, but never making the same one a second time." I love that.
I could agree. Sometimes you make them more than once, unfortunately, but yep.
And especially with a tattoo, you might make a tattoo mistake once, not the right artist, not the right size. Maybe you've outgrown that particular image, but you don't want to cover up a bad tattoo with another bad tattoo.
You don't want to do that. Sadly, we have seen it happen.
Well, we'll learn a little bit about what to do in those situations. So let's just jump right in. Cover-up tattoos are a growing trend in Canada, driven by a desire to hide the past, low quality or regretted ink, and it accounts for about 20 to 30% of tattoos. 10 to 15% of Canadians report having at least one tattoo that they regret getting. And while 38% of all Canadians are tattooed, the tattoo industry is in a growth phase in Canada, but not everyone is in love with their ink as they were when they first got it, leading to a growing number of tattoos that are called cover-ups. Common reasons people want to cover existing tattoos include poor quality, tattoos that have aged poorly, and people having life changes, getting rid of names that are no longer relevant or symbols that are no longer meaningful. So Jay, first question, would you say that consultations are absolutely necessary when you're doing a cover-up?
For myself, I strongly suggest people do consultations, being that I need to know what I'm working with. Mm-hmm. I do like to see the skin and see where it's at with the phase of everything. And on top of that, if I like to break it down and understand where a person's trying to go with their ink. Some people are more flexible with their desire to be open to anything to just cover something. And other people have some ideas and it needs to be finessed or needs to be talked out about what is realistic versus what is achievable with what they have existing.
Excellent. And it is also important to see like the texture of skin, make sure there's not a lot of scarring.
Very much. Once again, I like to see them in person so that I can see the skin quality, see what's happening. And it gives us an idea of like how old that tattoo is in the skin, which does create some variables on what I might suggest to move forwards.
Right. And can any tattoo be covered up?
I don't know if every tattoo can be covered up, just for the complexity of certain aspects. Example, if it's a really fresh tattoo and it's super dark and you might want to get some laser treatments to it, or if there's just something that a person is wanting that, example, if you have a blackout sleeve and someone's like, oh, I want to do the really dainty, feminine, really soft shading fine line tattoo, you're not gonna achieve the results that you want to achieve by slapping that fine line tattoo over already blacked out skin. It's not gonna be what you want. So it varies very much on expectations on the style that they're going for, what they think is achievable, and what they have existing currently and what state it's in, so that if there is stretch marks, if there is fresh ink, if it is in a very sensitive area, and example, if there was a bad experience before where this tattoo is really raised and what is achievable, because sometimes people come with the expectation that they can cover their tattoo up, and it's not necessarily that the ink is super dark, but they have raised skin, and there is no undoing that.
Right.
So it's just making sure that someone's very clear on what is going to be expected as the outcome.
Great. And that's another reason why a consultation is so vital.
I very much strongly suggest consultation. If someone's just throwing something at me, you're getting a random draw in the hat. I don't know what I'm working with. You can say that you have some star on your hand, but I don't know the details or everything else until I see it and understand what direction we're trying to head in.
Right. And what about the size of a cover-up? Does it always have to be bigger than the original?
Very likely, yes. You have to break up the design underneath through movement of the new piece. So more often than not, it's going to be bigger. For how I personally approach cover-ups, it is bigger to make sure that I am per se erasing or making it achievable that you do not see the underlying tattoo with the existing one.
Right. And that's very strategic in how you place the lines of the new artwork so that it kind of can flow and hide what's there.
Yeah. So it takes your eye away from what might have been to also fitting the body so that it looks proper to the placement and not just another tattoo slapped over top of something else. I've seen, as they call, a blast over, and it is becoming a very popular style, which if people are happy with that, all the power to them. It's just, once again, what you consider a cover up versus a blast over. A blast over, you're likely still going to see parts of the other tattoo underneath, where in what I understand a cover up to be is it's making it disappear and you cannot see the underlying tattoo.
Excellent. So does that mean it takes you a little bit longer as well to do the artwork to make sure that it has the right lines and the right shape to cover that tattoo?
When it comes to tattooing a person, definitely takes longer to make sure that everything is achieved as we want it to be. And that's where trying to get people to understand that it's not a 2-second process. There's a lot of intention that goes behind it to make sure that it does the trick that it's supposed to do. When people come in and they have the expectation that it should be a 2-hour little procedure, of course, depending on the size and the complexity of the cover-up, sometimes that can be done. Mm-hmm. If it's a lot more challenging, then no, we're not going to be done in 2 seconds. Like, we need to intentionally fine comb and go through everything to make sure that we have completed the process of making the existing tattoo disappear and become something new.
It seems to me that it's a little bit more of a harder proposition to create not only artwork that is custom, but also something that the client is going to love that also covers their existing ink.
Very much. It's a lot of making sure that we work together, because if a client tries to control the process and tries to demand certain things that aren't achievable or conducive to a great cover-up, it's trying to get them to understand that, like, there is limitations for this and that certain things aren't going to work. For instance, I had an individual who had tribals, so it's a lot of dark black work that was on them. It was a little older, so a little more faded. It's still very dark, regardless of it being older, and they had the expectations of doing a fine line piece that was going to somehow cover it. After repeatedly expressing to them that it's not going to be a style that is going to work for that, and we need to go thicker in lines, and we need to lean more into something like a neo-traditional or ornamental, where you got other elements that really pull into strong line weight, we just weren't able to, unfortunately, understand each other's expectations as they kept pressing for something that just wasn't going to happen. So at that point, we just went about different paths, and I'm happy for them that they had found another artist, which did the similar outcome of going into a neo-traditional style to help them achieve that cover up. So sometimes a person will demand that I do exactly as they say, and I'm not an artist that can cater to doing exactly that. I very much value us both co-creating and making sure that it is something that is going to be good. If it's not something that I think is appropriate or is going to achieve the results that they are stating they want, I just can't continue forwards with them.
Good to know. And let's talk about colors. Do you have to go darker with a cover up?
Commonly, you are going darker with the tones to help cover up those areas. So example, if you're going yellow over black, you're not going to cover that black. That black is going to peek through because it's a more dominant color or tone that is going to overpower that yellow. So you're not going to make it fade. If you intentionally are going about that approach where you want that look to make it flow into the design and make it intentional, that's a different case.
How long should someone wait before they get a cover up done? I know that you said that the longer a tattoo has been in place, sometimes the easier it is to cover up. But what about fresh tattoos? If someone gets a tattoo that they know they immediately don't like, how long do they have to wait before they come see you?
Definitely have to wait for it to heal to make sure that everything has settled with their skin and that their skin is back to a condition that can be approached again. And then from there, we can look at options once again and understanding the expectations of a fresh tattoo and the fresh ink sitting there and what can be done to create something new over top.
Excellent. That's good to know. But is a laser removal important to do before a cover up?
Sometimes I will suggest for people to do some laser removal before tackling the tattoo, at least about 3-4 sessions to lighten it at least, especially if it's dark and someone is wanting a lighter tattoo. That's when there's some pre-work that needs to go into it, which does require time, does require money, and is part of the process at that point. So sometimes going that route is helpful for creating the design that someone wants if they are trying to go lighter instead of darker. Because once again, there's limitations on what can be achievable. And if they are adamant this is what they are striving for, then we just have to take a different approach to make sure that we get those results.
Nice. And you don't have to necessarily eliminate the tattoo completely. You can just lighten it so that the cover up is easier.
Exactly. Like I don't need it completely disappeared to make it a cover up successful. I just need it a couple of shades lighter so that we can work and be more flexible in creating something new that will cover it.
Excellent. And will the old tattoo ever bleed through to the new tattoo?
If it bleeds through to the new tattoo, it means that once again, the tones aren't dark enough to cover up that tattoo that's underneath. And at that point, it's looking at other variables of how to approach it. As I say, a successful cover up, it should not. If it is, then you have a couple of options. There is people that are testing boundaries right now on what is doable and what is achievable with doing cover-ups. There is one gentleman, which I like to follow and watch his journey, as he has redone his bodysuit 3 times now.
Wow.
And he's had really dark tattoos on his body where it's kind of looks like a monster and it's all on his chest and stuff. And there's an eyeball. And he's allowed people to just sit there and work at it. But as he puts, it is a process. It takes a lot of work. And not always are people wanting to continue to throw money at their tattoos. this person fortunately is a tattoo artist, so they have people that can do this for them, and likely are getting help. A common person that is looking to get a tattoo may not want to sit there and get the same area blasted multiple times to make sure that the color is predominant on top of another color, as it takes time and it takes money. So it's just, once again, ruling out those expectations of what does someone want to do with the approach. So I would think for today's day and age and how we have come to understand and stretch the limits of what is doable with skin, I have seen, based on those photos, someone be very successful in covering up dark stuff with more lighter tones and really working with it, though he's taken a lot of time for it. So yes and no. There's still, once again, other ways to approach cover-ups. It just depends on what expectations are being put about someone and explaining the process of how can we achieve this.
Excellent. And talking about going over the same area multiple times, do cover-ups hurt more than just a standard tattoo?
Not necessarily. You're still going to feel the discomfort of a typical tattoo. That being stated, if you have, like, it depends on the area of the tattoo and where you're getting it done, to then if there is any scars. If there's scars, then of course that's a lot more sensitive than usual skin. To then if it's in a sensitive area, that's still going to be added to it. So there's those factors. But overall, it's still going to be generally the same kind of pain depending on the person. There is definitely a fluctuation with people's pain tolerance. So example, if someone is going through a lot of stress in their life and there's big moments happening, it's not uncommon to see people want to get a tattoo to, as I've commonly heard, to feel something or to just have like an experience or some type of discomfort to try to mitigate what they're going through. Some people might feel it less because of everything that they're going through and where their nervous system is at. And then some people might feel it more where they have a limited span of tolerance to be able to get tattooed.
Right. And with any tattoo, you still need to make sure you go through the pre-tattoo instructions of making sure they eat and making sure that they sleep, because that can help minimize how painful a tattoo is. Is that correct?
That will 100% help the body prepare for the session and for what experience it's about to undergo, and prep it to be in ideally the best condition it can be. And it does very much play an effect. For instance, I've had a gentleman who we were working on his hand. It's a sensitive spot. It is known to be uncomfortable to get the hand done. And he didn't eat before. And he had to end the session a little bit earlier than he was expecting or wanting as well, just because his body was not wanting to continue through the discomfort.
Very important. Okay, good to know. So we know that they're not necessarily more painful, but what about more expensive? Are cover-ups something that costs more?
Generally, yes. You are, once again, putting more work and more time into something that is eliminating something else. So on average, you are expecting that it's going to take you more time, which therefore is going to take you more money.
Good to know. And last question, how should someone go about finding the right tattoo artist for a cover-up?
Things I would suggest is getting to see what your artist is like. If you can, check out their social medias, see if how they go about their own process with their tattooing is aligned for the experience that you want, to then asking the questions. Don't hesitate to ask. Ask everything that you can, that you might be hesitant on, of what to expect. What is it like working together? What expectations are for you to be able to receive this tattoo, how they operate. Most often, tattoo artists will take a deposit. There is some that I have encountered that don't take deposits. So like it just very much depends on the type of artist that you want to work with. The ones that have definitely put a lot of time and effort into their craft and are building their business are going to want to outline things to make sure that it's a smooth process and that it's a positive experience. So finding the online stuff, if they have a website, going on their website, understanding what kind of values they work with, understanding what kind of environment they're trying to create for you, and seeing if that's aligned for how you want to be treated through this process.
Great to know. Well, thank you so much for the tips. If anyone out there is looking at getting a cover-up done or have questions about cover-up tattoos, please hit like for this video and then comment below. Jay will tackle those questions or comments in a new video. And Jay, how can people find you to get a consultation or start a tattoo?
A common way that I refer people to get in contact is either doing the form on my website, which is www.SkinartJTattoos.com, or sending me a text message of 780-722-2023, where I will set up a consultation and we can get the ball rolling and talk about the new art. To then, if you reach out through other social medias, please be patient with me. I will reach out. I will try to direct it back to text messaging. So I will ask for someone's number and ask for your first and last name so that once again, we can streamline and set up consultations.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, for explaining everything about cover-ups. And I look forward to the next video.
Thanks for having me.